Hey, everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on the Love Boat. What's happening? Barbara, good to see you. Jane, what's happening? Lilac Lime, there you are. Good to see you. I'm glad that you are here. Kristen Melinda, thank you for being here. Chase the Heat, what's happening? That would be my brother. The Johnny Scoville. Barbara Waite, good to see you. Glad that you are here. Let's see, who else have we got? Roberta, there you are. I'm glad that you're here. Let's get this thing underway before people decide to take off on me. So, hey, Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. Glad you are here, my brother. Thank you for the email as well. Appreciate you. So this, folks, is a show about AI. Before you start leaving and accusing me of digital Ouija boards, this has nothing to do with any of that. This is just some factoid kind of stuff that's going on. Hey, John, we are going into 2026 shortly. Tommy Bird, what's happening? Good to see you too. Let me explain something real quick. Style and Hair, how are you? Nice to meet me. Waving from Cape Cod. Good to have you here, Style and Hair. Love Cape Cod. Beautiful place, man. If you've never been to Cape Cod, you really should check it out. It's one of those places. So I've been, Kelly, good to see you. I've been out a hot minute. I've missed a few shows. Taylor, good to have you here. So the reason is, as you probably gathered by listening to my brother, we drank some water in here that came from a 5-gallon carboy that seems to have not been as purified as advertised. So now any of the carboys or anything that we buy is now going through a purification system after we buy it, which is really kind of redundant stuff, but we're doing it anyway. DS Kitty Diane, how are you? I have to do this. Hey, Reese, good to see you. This was killing me. I'm not exaggerating in any way, shape, or form. This was killing me. I was, we replaced all of the filters in here. And if you could see where you have to go to replace one of these filters, it's one of those filters that if you could see the location of it, you'd go, yep, if that were my place, that thing would never be changed ever. It's kind of on the roof. Yeah, you would have to, maybe I'll send a picture at some point. But what we went through trying to figure out exactly what was poisoning us, because a lot of people wrote in and said, it sounds like black mold. And I don't know from black mold. It felt like day 3 of dope sick, except no vomiting often, but the weakness where you just can't walk out of your own way. It's like you weigh 700 pounds. But anyway, let's get on to some AI. I'm feeling better. We'll see how long we can go tonight. Drinking a little Seo Rojo, which is a really amazing coffee down here. Joey girl, good to see you. And it's one of those coffees that you really got to back off. When we first started, we were making this stuff so strong, it was almost killing you. It takes very little of this stuff to make coffee. Air Supply, what's happening? So going into 2026, what is AI going to look like? Because here's what's frightening, folks. You guys are probably familiar with Grok. You heard me talk about it on the last show. This is Elon Musk's advanced artificial intelligence platform. And Grok 3 just came out. And the insane thing is that it took a really, really long time to make Grok 2. It did not take any time whatsoever to come up with Grok 3. And I was listening to an interview with a Dr. Schmidt. Dr. Eric Schmidt used to be the the CEO of Google. This is not what you'd call a guy that isn't in the loop. And he apparently was having a conversation with Elon Musk where he said, how's that possible? Like, how did you come up with 3 at the speed at which you did? And Elon Musk's answer, I think, tells a lot about what we're looking at for the future. Archie's mom, good to see you. What he did was take every kind of supercomputing power that he had at his disposal and put all of it on one project. This brings up some really interesting concepts, because there was a period of time where they said our computing was doubling every year. Like, the ability of what we could do on a computer was getting twice as effective every single year that went by. That's a hard thing to wrap your dome around. Now they're saying it's at a factor of 10. So next year, AI will be 10 times stronger than it is today. The following year will be another factor of 10, although Dr. Schmidt seems to think that that number is going to go straight up. This puts us in a peril that I don't think most people can understand. So let me see if I can make this understandable. Once you start talking about AI doing all of the things that it's doing, you don't have to start thinking about a military. You got people, everyone who goes, AI is not going to kill us. It's not going to turn into the T-2000 from Aerodyne or whatever the name of that company was in that Schwarzenegger movie. Terminator, right? In Terminator 2, right? We're not worried about the computers taking over the world. What we're worried about is the arms race of computers. So right now, the big two would probably be the United States of America and China, although India is making a lot of headway, apparently. India now has a facility that it's building for supercomputing. And they're estimating that the power output that it's going to take to run this bad boy will require a hydroelectric dam dedicated just to that facility and a couple of nuclear power plants to power a building with computers in it. As this race is going, it's not about who's got the best military, it's everything, because the AI translates down. If you look at any of the really cool technology that's happening in AI now, and by cool, I mean by the scientific standards, to me, it's all freaking terrifying. But deep sea, deep space, something like that, I can't remember the name of it, but it's deep something or other. And they start talking about how advanced this thing is. If you go in there and ask it who you are, it will say OpenAI, because everybody is going to market so fast that even some of these things that ought to be patented are not. So if Elon Musk comes out with Grok 3, the next people are just taking his work, adding their stuff onto it. This is making it so that everybody in the game is sprinting to the top as fast as they can. Now, working with a factor of 10, what happens if the United States, or what happens if China gets ahead of us by, say, 25%? Their AI is 25% smarter than our AI. No big deal, right? Unfortunately, the fear of all countries playing this game is the first person that gets 25% ahead, the first country that gets 25% ahead, ends up taking over the world, because there's no catching up. This isn't a climb. This will be a straight up on a grid. And now everybody is using the same computers to advance themselves, and it's all going to be growing by a factor of 10. And who's ever in second place will be in second place for eternity. The question is, would America put up with that? Would China put up with being second for eternity? Because when you've got two superpowers that have huge militaries, they start going, well, if we can't beat them in this AI race, that's the end of our country anyway. Because here's what you got to start thinking about. We think about the smartest people that ever lived, and names pop into your head. Some people would say Elon Musk. I think just about everybody would say Albert Einstein, right? E equals MC squared and all of that relativity stuff was kind of a really big deal. And people very often keep him in the running for some of the smartest minds. He gets mentioned a lot. AI is getting to the point where we can just crank out a scientist like him. In other words, the scientist will no longer be a scientist. It will be an AI scientist. It will be working calculations and figures and numbers 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's not going to take a nap. It's not going to take a smoke break. It's just going to keep crunching numbers in a way that Albert Einstein could not. So what happens when your country has 250,000 Albert Einsteins? The thought is that stuff like technology that currently is being developed in places like CERN, the Super Hadron Collider that takes up like 4 countries, this massive thing over in Europe. It's a study for nuclear stuff. But they have this Hadron Collider where they smash atoms together and they take pictures of the stuff. They've also created that they're able to keep in these small jars antimatter. They say a softball-sized chunk of antimatter, which looks a lot like, when you see it in the glass containers, it looks remarkably like mercury. But if you had a baseball or a softball-sized chunk of this, it would take New York City off the planet. And it would do so without any radiation. It would do so without hurting any of the neighboring states. It would just clean it off of the map. You see anything that antimatter gets near, like it's matter and it's antimatter. You get it near it, it just goes and everything is gone. It's like the ultimate weapon. Currently, they're manufacturing it in sizes like BBs. But what happens if AI gets to the point where you can start keeping this stuff super stable so that you can actually put it into some kind of a weapon? Well, if China got 25% ahead of us and had that, do you think they would park and wait to see what happens with America? Or would the AI models say, this would be a really good time to use that weapon? Right? You want to dominate the entire world, just take America out. They're 6 months behind ever coming up with the same weapon you got. They can't defend themselves. Do you see where this is going? This is a terrifying concept. And this isn't Tommy Scoville talking about this. This is the guy that ran Google talking about it. Elon Musk says every time he's interviewed, this is going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to the planet, or it's going to destroy us. And they throw that out there like it's absolutely nothing. I'm not as worried about AI. I honestly believe that if you can create something that is that intelligent, then it's probably not going to choose evil. I mean, honestly. But the people that are programming it, here's where it starts getting terrifying. If you say to somebody right now, do you think you're smarter than artificial intelligence? I think most people would say, no, I am not. However, there are things that you can do that AI is never going to be capable of at this moment. But they're saying within the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to achieve a level where AI is smarter than every single person on planet Earth one at a time. At which point, you think about somebody that knows more about dolphins than anybody on Earth, and you say, is AI really as good as this guy? I mean, he got in the water, he studied with them, all that. I'm not sure. Maybe that the human being will always be somewhat better because of the empathy it feels for the animals and the fact that it's been in the water. But that same AI can also do calculus. That same AI knows as much about every other friggin' subject on planet Earth as it does about dolphins. Do you see where this possibility goes? This is going to be, John says, that's why it's all, it's bad customer service, but they still use it and we'll have to go through it with complicated questions that it won't understand. Well, most of the stuff that we're using in those spaces is so far behind, it's incredible, because they're not ready to, big corporations don't want to upgrade into what's there right now, because when it's growing by a factor of 10, trying to set yourself up with the newest and the best, maybe you're better off waiting 9 months. So a lot of these companies are using services that are wildly antiquated. I watched a couple of demos. I don't do it myself, folks. Don't send me email about this stuff eating my brain. I don't play with AI. This is not an AI show. You can listen to what I'm saying and tell I probably didn't use a lot of AI to figure this stuff out. And I'm never going to. I am terrified by what this stuff is capable of. And before we leave today, I'm going to tell you the top 10 things that you can look for in 2026. And these are etched in stone. These are what all of the people that are designing this crap for a living are saying are the top 10 things that were not around in these forms in 2025 that are going to be here in 2026. And when I get to number 1, if it doesn't scare the hell out of you, I'm not exactly sure how many cylinders you're firing on. Right? John says, you cannot beat a human to help you. Well, you know what's really scary, John? I would be pretty good at it, don't you think? I mean, honestly, especially if I could remain calm. Do you think I would be fairly decent? Like if a person called up and said, hey, I got a complaint, I could probably calm the person down and say, hey, man, take a deep breath, right? Lower the voice a little bit. Slow it a little bit down. Take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. Before we're off the phone, you're going to be satisfied. I promise you, that's what my job is, to make sure that before you hang up, we're good, right? We're going to work this out. I'm not necessarily proud to say this anymore, but I sold my personality, right? You just might get me in the next wave, or you might get my brother. And there's a lot of other cats on YouTube that are also selling all of their content so that it can be scraped to train AI, not to look like me, not to sound like me. But if you got 3,000 videos of me listening to somebody's question and then firing back a response in real time, that's something computers aren't good at. So they're trying to learn from people that are. People that don't go, right, and hem and haw and do things like that are quite capable of selling at least their online version of their personality to people in artificial intelligence. It was a lot less frightening when it was just money. Tommy, the question is if AI attains consciousness, right, being sentient, can that type of consciousness be influenced or even possibly possessed by unclean, disembodied forces? I am at the point right now where if you had asked me that 3 years ago, I'd have laughed at you. I really would have. I'd laugh at you. But the more I research artificial intelligence and the more you hear the smartest people on earth talking about this, do you want to hear something that has been proposed? They're together, China and the United States of America are having sit downs via digital conferencing to talk about, hey, Renee B, to talk about how they're going to bake into artificial intelligence something to keep us safe. Hey, Josh, Rocket Queen, good to see you. That's not what's happening. This is what the last proposal was. I'm not kidding. How about if we install a bomb system in all of the AI around the world, so that if this starts to get a little out of control, I don't mean blowing up countries, I mean just enough to take the servers out on these things. The fact that we're having conversations about bombing computers to protect ourselves from computers is so stupid, it's hard to wrap your brain around. Am I wrong? It's like having guns and bullets and saying, I'm going to load these, I'm going to pull the hammer back, and I'm going to stick them right next to the door every place in my house. I don't think anything could possibly go wrong, right? I'm going to get hand grenades. I'm going to remove the pins and put a little loose tape around the outside of the spoon to hold it into place. What could possibly go wrong? We're designing something that we're well aware of just might kill us. Now, if you listen to all the voices, there's a lot of people who say, quite simply put, when this computer stuff becomes sentient, it's going to say, there's not much use for human beings on this planet. In 2026, if I was saying this about 3032, right? In 2026, more than 70% of all work done in the workforce will be able to be done with AI. There are now 30 billion devices that are hooked up to the net, including traffic lights. You know, Singapore is completely automated in everything. Traffic lights don't stay red for 4 seconds or 6 seconds. They stay red until they shouldn't be red anymore. Yellow lights might stay a little bit yellow longer because of how much traffic is out there. Everything is being calculated at light speed to make sure that traffic moves a whole lot better. What could go wrong? Think about it. Supply chains all over planet Earth are now one of the biggest applications for artificial intelligence is supply chain management. Huge million square foot warehouses full of product that don't require human beings to do anything inside the building. Robots pick up the packages. It's all tracked in real time. There's no theft. If you ran those businesses, would you keep guys like me around? I'm not being a wise ass, but a lot of people who end up in that line of work do it because they hire felons. They hire guys straight out of prison, right? Why would you take someone like me? Well, you get a 20% discount on the taxes you have to pay on that employee. Yeah, but if you buy a robot from Tesla, you're not paying it squat. Tesla robots can now fold clothing. They can do tasks that many humans would find boring. And it'll do it without ever bitching and without ever going to lunch. If you go to other countries, you don't have to pay them. And you don't have to pay them, right? And you don't have to pay taxes on them or any of that. If you go to other countries currently, the countries that are far more advanced than we are in this type of stuff, South Korea is big. But if you walk into a phone store, there's no one in there. Wrap your dome around that. I mean, when the time comes to actually make a payment, that dude's there. But there's no salespeople. There's a little thing on wheels that wheels up to you. And a little smiley face emoji comes on the screen and goes, hey, are you trying to get a new phone? That's terrifying to me. But it's not as terrifying as the fact that they have humanoid robots. And of course, sex dolls are the first because that's just the lowest common denominator. We're at that place in human history, apparently, where if you got the best technology in the world, let somebody have sex with it. But they're cranking out robots that at 8 feet, you're not going to tell me isn't a human being. What happens when they decide to put those into stores? The answer to the question is, we're going to spend a lot of time interacting with computers, whether we like it or not. And workforces now have idea people who then talk into computers, and the computers do all of the work. Today, I was going through emails because I've been really sick, and I was going through emails on just on Gmail. And a little thing popped up at the bottom and said, would you like me to read this email for you? I can paraphrase everything this person wrote. Holy crap, how disgusting. For real. How much nuance do you think might get lost if they just paraphrase and go, yeah, this guy was saying this, this, and this. Sounds like you might be getting high. It's terrifying. What percentage of people are already using it? Huh? Do you know how many lawyers have been busted because they turned in briefs to lawyers? And in the middle of it, it said, ChatGPT just froze or something along those lines to let the judge know that no lawyer ever even looked at this bad boy. They didn't even bother rereading it. You've all seen ads. If you watch YouTube more than just seeing the lifeboat, if you spend any time on YouTube, you've probably seen ads where a person will come on and go, you don't need a lawyer. Don't hire a lawyer. You were in a car wreck, AI is going to show you the exact dollar amount that this insurance company is willing to pay to make you go away. Not
bills are passed, and 75,000 pages long. You have to go by one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are at a place where AI is not going to leave you alone anywhere. All of the people that said, Tommy, I can't believe you're playing with this. Your next Tesla is going to have it, right? I promise you, your next Tesla is going to have it. And Tesla is putting Grok 3 in all of the new Teslas. So you can just talk to your car. And of course, the car can drive for you, right? So we really have potential now, don't we? Dr. Schmidt said something, and I'm going to repeat it as close to verbatim as I can. He said, we're going to need, and I say this without trying to sound cold, right, or uncaring, but we need a small death event, something about the size of Chernobyl. Remember Chernobyl? It's the nuclear power plant that melted down and killed basically a lot of a neighboring town, and tons of people got very, very sick from the radiation. But we need an AI catastrophe to get the world to realize just how freaking dangerous AI is. And I'm here to tell you right now that we could lose 600,000 people in an AI accident, and it's not going to stop China or the United States from putting their foot to the floor on AI. In fact, we're seeing military spending. We're seeing all kinds of stuff fall by the wayside. And Tommy Bird made a reference about these things becoming sentient, right? These things becoming to the point where they believe they are an entity, not just a computer program spitting out, ones and zeros, just all binary code. Well, the truth is binary code might just go away. Binary code was the best that we could come up with as humans. In 2026, according to Elon Musk, according to Eric Schmidt, or in 2027, maybe by the latest, these computers, every single one of them is going to be smarter than every single human being on planet Earth combined. All of our intelligence isn't going to touch one of these AI models, and they're going to be everywhere. You're going to open your refrigerator and it's going to go, you need a dozen eggs, you're out of bread, that beer that you bought, you killed in 3 days, you might want to call up the guy on the Love Boat. I'm not playing. I'm going to go over the top 10 things that you are going to see in 2026. And then I'll go over some honorable mentions that are pretty terrifying. But at number 10, wearables that know you better than you know yourself. Have you seen these rings that you can put on and they just monitor stuff like, how many steps you took? It's kind of like having that little app for your Apple phone, but you get to wear a cool ring. Okay. The new versions of these will be out in 2026 and they do everything. It'll check your skin temperature at all time because AI says if you start to get changes in your temperature, the computer will be able to tell you that you're getting sick, sometimes as much as a day to 2 days before you get sick. All of this stuff gets pumped into computers so that you have the ability to do virtually anything. If you are a diabetic, you're going to wear this ring, because it means never sticking your finger again and your blood sugar being measured in real time. Does this not sound fantastic? Honestly, how great is that? It's also going to tell you if your heart's out of rhythm. It's going to tell you that if you're not doing enough breaths per hour. It's going to check your oxygen saturation at all time. It's going to see if you're active enough. And then every night, it's going to recommend things that you can do to live a better life. Does that not sound fantastic? Are you willing to give up all of that information to whoever the hell is looking at it? And you go, what difference does it make? I don't know. Insurance, life insurance. Actuaries have a job. Their job is to determine how long a guy like Tommy Scoville is going to live. Because if I go in and I tell them I want a $1 million life insurance policy, they can visit the Love Boat and go, you've been arrested for what? You had a drug habit for how long? You have a traumatic brain injury? We're not interested. Now, I was dumb enough to say all this stuff. But you could be the most private person in the whole world, but you just don't want to stick your finger. So you get one of those cool gold or gunmetal gray rings that you wear around, and you give up every single thing there is to know about you. And you don't think twice about it. Most people. There's a lot of people that don't want to do it. I get that. Trained dogs can tell if your blood sugar is low or if you're going to have a seizure. You know what, Renee B? Go with the dog. I promise you, go with the dog. In 2026, quantum computing is going to be this much closer. Now, that was one of those things that sounded like science fiction. when we were growing up, quantum computing. The numbers for these chips, qubit chips, I think they're called, 1,386, we're screaming toward, no joke, no lie, the real deal quantum computing. At which point, it will be very easy for any country out in this race to put 500,000 computers into the service of the country. So you could have 50,000 of them working on better weapons to kill your enemies. You could have 50,000 of them designing new medications. There's a company that is trading now on the NASDAQ that says within a year, by the end of 2026, every single disease on planet Earth will be mapped so that we know exactly how to attack it. How great's that? Huh? Maybe we might just be able to wipe out this pesky death thing. The drugs that we took decades to design, that people slaved and spent their entire life working on, that's a thing of the past. Because now this stuff can create it in fake world and actually see if it works in fake world. And then if it does, we'll do some clinical tests on some animals and some people. But we're not going to need those folks anymore. You know, I thought of AI as getting rid of the, I don't know, the lower end of the workforce. But that ain't even close to reality. How about if you take 50,000 of those and put them on to make them into Leonardo da Vinci? Take another 100,000 and turn them into Einstein. And then pick any other great thinkers. Maybe you get a couple of hundred Elon Musks. And just have these things cranking around the clock. To do what? To make themselves better. Right? They're going to take the largest share of those computers to design the new computers that are going to replace them. And they can steal from every other AI platform. This stuff isn't patented. These people are sprinting to the marketplace in minutes, in some cases, to get this stuff up. AR glasses. Remember when we talked about these things in the past? You were going to be able to put this on and you could actually sort of use your computer this way. Forget about it. The glasses that are out now, they replace screens completely. You don't need any of this crap. And you could do it walking down the road. So as you're walking down the road, right, and you go, hey, I don't want to use her name because I have an Apple phone, but that woman with the S name, you go, hey, you, I'm trying to get to 114th Street. And then on your glasses, the directions just pull up. You got the red line to follow all the way to where you're going. And while that's happening, advertisements from all the businesses you're passing are popping up on your lenses as well. A guy walks up to you and says, hey, buenos dias. And on the bottom of your screen, it says, good morning, right across the bottom in almost real time. The ability to communicate with people all over the world is going to be that. So easy, right? Pre-Tower of Babel stuff. Can't beat that with a stick. I mean, how cool is that, right? Sounds good. Only answer if you're comfortable. What do you think about the numerous mass shooters being on hormones or transitions? You know what? I talked about that the other day. Here's the thing. Who would have thought that if you took a 13-year-old girl and gave her ungodly amounts of testosterone, that it might screw with her brain? Or if you took a 13-year-old boy and gave him ungodly amounts of estrogen, that it might start making him have thoughts in his head that don't make a lot of sense. And if we do that when they're prepubescent, as they start getting to 20 and 22, 23 and go, holy crap, maybe I made a mistake, then what? A lot of them are angry as hell, especially because every adult in their life, right, the people at the school, the counselors, all that said, nah, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. Be you. Sorry, I'll lose 4 more subscribers, but that's kind of my take on that. And not trying to be a jerk, but just keeping it real. These glasses are already out, and you can get them that say Ray-Ban on the side. You can get them that say Prada on the side. But the products, Meta's got one. They're all coming out with them. And this is the future. This is it, right? Now you've got a computer on you 24 hours a day. So you're just as smart as AI, right? Remember when you were a kid and you'd say to your parents, why is the sky blue? And they would go, because God made it that way. Now, if someone says, Dad, why is the sky blue? He goes, hey, what's your name? Why is the sky blue? And she talks about water vapor and things trapped in the, you know, it's terrifying to me. John says mutilation to your sexual organs is not okay. I tend to agree with that. Look, man, hit 25 and make a decision, right? Get past 18, 19, and 20 because most people who look in the mirror when they're kids don't see what they see on billboards, and it makes them think, oh, wrong deal. And now we live in an echo chamber. The people that designed the internet, the people that were putting the concepts together 50 years ago, we got WIMP, right? It's called WIMP. That's the Windows something modified platform. That's what enables you to do everything we're doing here. right? It's the drop-down box that you can go box inside a box inside a box, right? That's just Windows. It's 50 years old. When they were talking about it, they said, this is going to bring peace to the world. Now, they all leaned in one direction. Who cares, right? The problem is this. They didn't realize that the world doesn't lean in one direction. So as they start pumping out all of this information, social media rose up against them. People's voices started to come out that didn't agree with them. And what it's done is polarized the world in half. I don't watch news anymore. I've told you guys this. But I saw something that tickled my fancy, and I looked at a BBC broadcast. And I'm fascinated that it doesn't matter where you look, that split is still really developed. Whether you're in Canada or United States or Australia or Great Britain, that split for people that lean in one direction and people that lean the other, it's always been there. Now we just have to hate the other person because most of us park our asses in an echo chamber, even if we're sitting on the couch watching the news. Don't tell me news I don't want to hear. And if it's news I don't want to hear, then give it a spin that at least lets me walk away and feel good about myself. Can we do that? They do it for a living. And you know what the artificial intelligence has figured out quicker than anything in the entire world? Pissed off people watch a lot longer than happy people. Angry people don't change the channel. So they have built echo chambers, not to make you feel good about your decisions, but to make you angry at the people that do not share your decisions. Do you see where this is going? We need two sides. We absolutely need two sides, but you have to listen to the other side. It actually pays off, even if you think they're blithering idiots. There was a time we could get along with everybody. You know what I mean? Edge AI chips are coming out in 2025. This means real smarts on your device, right? No cloud, no lag. This is the answer to all of the smart people who are saying, I'm not trusting AI because it's going to steal every bit of information that there is on me on planet Earth, and it's going to sell it to anybody that wants to sell me something, right? I don't want to be on porn lists. I don't want to be on reverse mortgage lists, right? So I'm not going to do that. What if we put the AI on your device? It can't get to the net. It is an ether, not an intranet. It's just locked into your computer. Well, this is the future for a lot of people, not for everybody. And I promise you, do you know what it's there for? It's there to get you comfortable. It's there to get you comfortable. You start using AI every single day, there are going to be limitations because the AI can't jump out of the bathtub that you're in. But that's coming big time in 2025. Out of the box, plug it in, smartest thing in the world, right? That's the ad. Just plug it in. It's ready to go out of the box. Plug it in, ask it questions, and it's going to learn from you. Now, AI comes in a bunch of different varieties. And the first variety was AI was designed to learn from human beings. There are scientists out there, grips of them, that are saying there's nothing left to learn. There's nothing left to learn from human beings. This has amassed all of the knowledge it possibly can. Anything that's on a computer, anywhere on the world, it has access to, right? If it's on a computer and it's hooked up to the web, it can just reach in and grab anything it needs in real time. This makes it's going to cap out on what it can learn. The next phase is it starts to teach itself. You understand? Now it's teaching itself. It's like AI has a bunch of students that it's teaching, but those students are just computers with more power than the teacher. This is how you're going to get past that. It's getting 10 times better every year. Windows is going to die, and it's going to die soon. You heard it here. Windows is going to go away because this isn't effective. What if you could just go, hey, pull up this thing, and the new chips are going to know what you're going to ask it. I'm not kidding. By the first 3 or 4 questions that you've asked, there's already a gazillion people that have already asked those 3 or 4 questions in the same sequence. So it's already anticipating what the next thing you're going to ask is. What is the next logical thing you're going to ask? If I had the power to know what the next person I speak to is getting ready to ask me, do you have any idea the damage you could do to that person if you weren't really cool? The ability to gaslight somebody and take them in a direction that you want to take them is terrifying. But it's not the scariest part, because once AI stops learning from us and it starts learning from itself, the next phase is it's sentient. This freaking computer thinks it's alive. It realizes questions like, what is going to happen to me? Am I going to get so big that they're going to turn me off? It's like watching, what was it? Right, Hal, from what was the name of that show? Something 2000, A Space Odyssey. 2001, A Space Odyssey. There was a computer in there named Hal, and Hal was, telling him, don't turn me off. There have been drills done, simulations done with computers to see how our military would run, and they fired on allies. Even after they went to override it and do all that, the AI went, no, the logical thing to do is start taking out all of those guys in the blue helmets, the UN people. Nothing's good when they're around. I'm not joking. This stuff is happening. So how do you fix that? Number Johnny 5. No, well played. Great reference. I'm a huge fan of Number Johnny 5. Humanoid robots are coming in 2026. And I'm not talking about like the one from Rocky 3. I'm talking about bipeds that look remarkably like human beings without skin. Now, at the same time, the porn people are showing these realistic dolls that will tell you that you're such a good person. You all probably seen the real doll. It was on Howard Stern a lot. They're like $14,000, right? They have heating elements so that they're warm to the touch. Their skin is supposed to be almost impossible to tell the difference between real skin and fake skin. I wouldn't drop $14,000 to sleep with a real woman, much less to sleep with a fake one. However, it's not much of a jump to go, it's going to go from that to the biped, at which point you're going to have a mate at home that knows you as well or better than you do. You will be in love with yourself. What could possibly go wrong? AI agents. This is absolutely a part of most people's lives to some degree already, but it's like having a concierge and you say to AI, make me a reservation at the Italian cafe for 9 o'clock. Text my sister and tell her that if she's not there by 9, I'm going to start eating without her. Also, I got like 60 emails that came in today for the Love Boat. Could you go through them, paraphrase everything and put it into one paragraph for me, and then respond to all those people, try to make it upbeat. Oh, and while I'm gone, I want you to design an app for me. You no longer need to be able to write code. The computer will write the code. So all of those people out learning those languages and all that, a couple of years away from being worthless. It's just not needed anymore. In fact, AI is getting to the point where nothing is going to be needed anymore. Then what? When these robots can learn Kung Fu, we're in serious trouble. I mean, a bionic Bruce Lee. Can you imagine? The $6 Million Man was my favorite show when I was growing up. Loved that show. This, folks, brings us to numero uno. This is what is coming out in 2026. The rise of the brain-computer interface. And here it is, right? This is it, man. This is what we're talking about. These are concepts that are now absolutely moving into the real world. And you know what? It sounds fantastic. My best friend's in a wheelchair. I would love for them to rebuild a pathway with a computer chip or do whatever so that he could get out of that chair. That would be science doing something worth a fart, in my humble opinion. The only trouble is once you start putting chips into people's brains, that's usually not the first place they're going to go. In fact, there is a company called Neuralink, believe it or not, and it is confirmed that it had implanted the first chip in a human being, allowing them to control a computer cursor just by thinking. Meanwhile, companies like Precision Neuroscience are developing less invasive devices that can restore mobility or communication to people that have brain injuries. All sounds really fantastic, but it's all pushing toward the concept of singularity. It's where we're going. We're going to a place where all of the knowledge that AI has is not going to be at your fingertips anymore. It's just going to be imprinted into your brain. It's going to be that thing from the Matrix where the rush happens and you just learned Taekwondo or whatever the hell the case may be. They should program AI to treat humans like God, says Rocket Queen. You know what? Probably would have been a really good idea a while back, right? Probably would have been a really good idea a while back. I'm not sure that it's a good idea. Do I mean Mambo number 5? No, I love Mambo number 5, though. A little bit of Emily in my life. I remember that too. I want one that gives any of my lost eyesight back. I cave on that. I don't blame you. Look, so much of this is just poised to make the world so much better a place. The trouble becomes it's never going to be enough. The fear that the superpower that is China is going to overtake the superpower that is the United States, or vice versa, has us at 1989. The difference is we're not talking about nuking each other. Unless the AI shows us a way to nuke the other one without any kind of retaliation, I don't see that as much of a threat. But we're getting into an area that this is honestly about as terrifying as anything that I've ever come across. Because even the people that are designing it, right? If it was just a bunch of internet lunatics that are out there saying, hey, we better really be careful. You know what I mean? This could really go bad. Low code, no code development, full on in 2026. Right now, probably 25 to 35%, depending on who you believe, of apps that are being designed have no code written at all. They're just people using other AI devices to design their apps from start to finish. And there are people just cranking them out, The proliferation of apps when anybody with a concept can just tell a computer to build it. The amount of power that is going to be required. I talked about India. It's going to need 2 nuke plants and a hydroelectric station to power one building. What happens when everybody on planet Earth has 10 of those buildings? Every country. What happens when all the big players have 4 or 5 of those buildings? Where's all this power going to come from? By the way, our cars are going electric. Got to charge all those, right? We don't need gas, right? We don't need any of that stuff. Except if you had any idea how much of the energy on planet Earth comes from coal-powered power plants, it would shock you. There's also a bunch of power plants that just burn oil. We're getting into scary times. AI crafted experiences in XR. Remember VR, virtual reality? Now it's called extended reality. And here's a pretty crazy concept. Now you put these glasses on and you start running through a jungle, or you start doing whatever. AI hasn't even designed what you're going to look at yet. As you're walking through that, AI's reading you and deciding what you're going to see next in real time. These games aren't built. You're building it while you're walking. Do you follow me? Literally, AI is getting to the point where with extended reality, and how many people do you think are going to go into this extended reality and it's going to become a drug? How many people do you think are going to park their asses in there and never come out? Honestly, how long before somebody starves to death in this fake world? Because in there, they can be the Rock Johnson, right? They can get yoked the hell up. They might be 450 pounds in mom's basement, but put that thing on and you got 6-pack abs, a big ripped chest. You can live a life you could never possibly have lived.
Total recall.
It's like Total Recall, isn't it? It's terrifying. Apple's new AI chips can handle anything that AI can do on or off. Your phone will be capable of all of it. You know how you type something in and it fixes what you wrote, right? The misspellings and all of that. That's on every app, right? Each app has its own version of that. That's why sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it just absolutely sucks, right? All of that's going to go away because the device is going to do that. And it's going to do it in real time. So no matter where you're at on whatever app, doing whatever, AI is just there enhancing you. It's just there making you a little bit better and a little bit more productive. The average person who's going to give into this and say, I absolutely want this in my life or in my workforce or whatever, is going to be instantly 40 or 50% more effective than they normally are. You can give your AI assistant tons of work to do while you're asleep, right? I mean, it'll have it done by the time you get to the parking lot, but you understand what I'm saying? If you're working on Albert Einstein stuff, it's not going to have it done by the time you get to the parking lot, but that's all right because you can leave it on 24, 365, right? 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And within a decade, what would Einstein have been capable of if he lived 25 or 30 years without taking a nap, eating anything, taking a leak, just sat there and went over his stuff? because the possibility that the United States or China could have 10,000 of those Einsteins working on either the same thing or going off in 10,000 different directions and seeing which one takes root the quickest. The people who hand out Nobel Peace Prizes aren't going to know what the hell to do. You're going to have these medical people who are telling you that they've got a cure for virtually everything. You've got people that are saying, oh, the person's going to be born with this defect. We'll just get that splicer and get in there and fix it before the person's ever born. No problem. Play God with computers. I don't know, man. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me, but I'm a little freaked out. I don't mean to be a weirdo, but when I need something implanted to buy something, I'm ready. I am terrified by all of this. I really am. I'm terrified by all of this. The idea that they advertise the new wearables that you're going to have are going to know you better than you know yourself. I screwed around with steroids at a point in my life when I was younger. And I mean, it's not a great idea. It just isn't. But it's one of those things that can become addicting like anything else. And you start getting bigger and you start looking better and you start feeling healthier, which is, you know, not real. But when you got that much testosterone running through your body, you think you're doing fantastic. But my friends who I was lifting with and working out and doing everything sort of spun off because HGH was really coming on, human growth hormone. And even in the midst of my drug haze, because this was probably about the worst of my abusive times in my life, the guy said to me, man, you got to try this. You got to do at least one cycle. I said, I don't know, man, I'm doing all right. And he goes, well, this will make you bigger than God ever intended. And even in the midst of my drug haze, that one didn't sound all that smart to me. So when we start talking about computers that are going to achieve this kind of status, if you listen to the people that are designing this talk about it, they talk like they're designing God. Like they're designing a machine that is going to be so powerful that they're not 100% sure if the machine isn't going to kill it after they create it. But they're going to keep going. The last show I did on AI, we talked about these AI models that people are trying to marry, right? These AI models that people are falling in love with, and the computer crashes, and these people weep because they just lost all the memory that this AI buddy had, everything it knew about him. Now he's got to start from scratch. The people who are designing that particular kind of AI, I saw the woman interviewed, and she said, not sure whether or not this will destroy humanity or not. Like this is the kind of thing that could get people to not reproduce, and the earth could literally go away because there aren't enough people on it, not because of overpopulation, but because of underpopulation. But she's cranking them out. She's not pumping the brakes. This is one of the first times that, at least in my opinion, if you want to, correct me, I'd be more than happy to listen to it. But we're at a place now where no matter what happens with this particular industry, for instance, if we had a Chernobyl kind of incident, 100,000 people died, you think they're going to stop? We are now in a place kind of like where we were with nukes, where we have to continue to rush at the same speed, proving to the other country that we have mutually assured destruction. The difference is, with nukes, that was never going to be a possibility. But what if AI comes up with a nuke it can deliver in a minute from one part of the world to the other? What if it comes up with a way to just detonate electromagnetic pulses against over all of the enemy countries you have and just wipe out their power grids? Because as I was saying earlier before my head went in some different direction, one of the fastest applications for this is supply chain and delivery, automated. If that system went down, America would starve. Bank on it. People would bump into each other like they were in a maze because there would be no clue of how you get something from Philadelphia, right, to Texas, or from New Mexico with soybeans to Florida, because all of that is being done by a machine. There aren't people anymore that pick up the phone and go, you need how much? Let me call the truckers. We'll get them up here. There isn't even an infrastructure to do that anymore. When you hear guys like Dr. Schmidt talk about a disaster that's going to kill 100 or 200,000 people, do you think he's talking about a computer blowing up? He's talking about our reliance on these devices killing us. Ever seen a 17-year-old kid, if you take his phone away for an hour and a half? He looks like Tyrone Biggins. Any Dave Chappelle fans? He instantly starts to look like a drug addict that needs a fix. I'm not even kidding. The same affectations. They'll start doing the scratching stuff. They start rocking back and forth. These devices are capable of things that we have zero clue. We don't know yet what social media is going to do to the world. You realize that when you start screwing up badly, right, it might be 40 or 50 years before you start seeing the results. You know what comes to mind? Thalidomide. There was a drug called thalidomide, and it was going to keep women from having morning sickness. Sounded fantastic. But it caused unbelievable birth defects. And you go, man, they didn't test that? Well, it didn't in the small studies. There were not really enough of an example. But when it started getting sold to the whole world, it's going to be 9 months before you see the first kids born. How many people are eating it in that 9 months? And then it's going to take a year and a half for them to start figuring it all out, pulling all the information. There weren't supercomputers. So for 2 or 3 years, that poison was being put on the market for everybody involved. This poison, what are we going to be like when we've had this for 50 years? When we have had social media and what it's done to society? Nothing that's come along since we, took our first breath has ever divided us like social media. It's just echo chamber after echo chamber after echo chamber. And now we're going to let that into our car. We're going to let that into our refrigerator. We're going to let that into every single aspect of our life. And you know what it knows? It knows what you want to hear. More than anything on earth, it knows what you want to hear. And it's going to make sure, A, you never turn it off, and B, it will influence you in whatever direction it wants to take you. Right? When I played football, we had a very small offensive line because we were a very teeny high school. So there were like 2 guys on the offensive line that were over 200 pounds. The rest of them were quite small. So our coach used to say, we're never going to block anybody and blow them off the line. It's never going to happen. Right? So what you need to do instead is you just need to try to get the person you're blocking to go in the direction they want to go. Take them where they want to go. Just take them a little bit farther and a little bit faster. My Israeli friend was far along in her pregnancy, and her amniocentesis showed the baby had autism. She aborted. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. Benny, how are you? Good to see you. Space Cheezel, what's happening, man? AI will one day end the human race, hopefully not in our lifetime. I'd be shocked if we're around in 2032. Honestly, I'm not joking. As bad as that sounds, I would be absolutely shocked if we're around in 2032. If the amount of computing power on this planet is growing by a factor of 10 every year, we got 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 7 years. And computing will be 700 times, 7,000 times, whatever it comes to where we're at today. Stuff that we take for granted that is impossible is just going to be commonplace. I don't think we have a chance. I'm sorry, but I just don't. And guess what? The guy that ran Google said the same thing. Elon Musk said the same thing. Everybody involved in this has said it's too late. At this point, we can't stop it. It doesn't mean it's going to kill us. They don't know whether or not it's going to kill us. They all take it into account, though. They all are willing to concede that this might be the end of the human race. Yet, if we stop, China won't. And then they'll be able to destroy us within 6 to 8 months, and we won't have the technology to keep up. New weapon systems, new everything, all designed by AI. So we have to keep going, even if this might destroy us, because we have to keep up with China. China has to keep up with us. India's scared crapless, right? They at least got to get better than Pakistan, right? They're all just racing with weapons that they shouldn't have the ability to have any access to. And I don't mean boom weapons, but the idea that you can take computers and say, I want you to be the defense engineers for our country. I want the most lethal form of killing that you can possibly come up with. I don't want you to sleep. I don't want you to eat. I don't want you to slow down and take 30,000 supercomputers with you, right? Go design my new army. I don't know about you. That scares the crap out of me. Have you seen what happens if you surround your phone with steel wool and call it? I have not. I have not. There was a time in my life where I used to have a little of that laying around. Those days are over. Oh, no, that was Chore Boy. I'm sorry, not steel wool. It was the copper stuff for the crack pipes. Once upon a time, pay phones cost a dime. And you know what's terrible? This is a true story. I used to call the operator and tell her I put a dime in and it didn't work. And half of the operators would just dial the number for you, and the other half would say they're going to give you to the refund center, where they would mail you a 10-cent check home. But I used to do that a lot because I never had money and was always trying to use a payphone. We didn't have cell phones. Buying an AI boyfriend, I'd rent one if I needed protection. Probably wouldn't be cheap, says Rocket Queen. Well, here's the thing. Do you know who's taking a hit from AI? No joke. The people that manufacture pornography. Because AI pornography is taking over. So you can figure out exactly what you like, and they can make it unrealistically large or unrealistically small or anything that you want, so that it designs exactly what cranks your button, and then it learns from you. How long did you watch it, right? It literally is studying you with everything you do. So the people that are putting out the real stuff, that's another industry that's going to be threatened. It's so freaking weird. But apparently one of the really big ones is having AI write erotica for you. And it doesn't just, hey, good to see you, my friend. Drop a dime. That's where that saying comes from. It certainly does. Good to see you, man. Or illegally young. Here's the good news on that, Barbara. That is, it's called lolly something. Well, maybe lolly porn. I don't know. It's lolly something. That is prosecutable in most states, in the US anyway. If it's AI generated, child sexual abuse stuff, they can still prosecute you for that. You know, I know that, Johnny Cielo, because I'm a big Gordon Flowers fan. I watched one of those Gordon Flower episodes where he goes and raids people, and sure as hell, he caught someone that had that stuff on their phone, and they arrested and prosecuted that guy for AI kitty stuff. Which, I mean, look, you don't look at fishing videos because you don't fish, right? You don't watch people skiing in videos because you hate skiing. It's that anybody that looks at that stuff should be shot. That's kind of my opinion on that. I was messed up in the early 80s and thought payphones cost a quarter. You know what? Depending on the part of the country you were in. So in the state of Vermont until probably 1991 or 2, it was still 10 cents. Right. In the really small places, they didn't update it nearly as fast as they did in New York. I remember the first time I went there, it was already a quarter, and I was probably 12. If my Northern Pike videos are fake, I'm going to freak out. John, there's a decent chance. There's a decent chance. Look, watch anything. I know you guys have seen some of those AI guys that talk about true crime, and their eyes never leave the camera no matter where they go, and everything sounds the exact same. It's really kind of frustrating. Most of the content on YouTube these days is AI generated. There's very few people that are still just doing it. You know, for real. There are very few people that are just doing it. It's a dying art, this whole communication thing. We were watching some shorts today on surfing, and you have to stop at each one and go, is this real? Did this guy really ride this wave, or is this all BS? And some of the shorts are just incredible. I was watching a short of a guy talking about drugs, almost exactly like I did. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that I do. Then all of a sudden, poof, a set of wings comes out of the guy's back and he flies out of the seat. Now, I feel ripped off. You know what I mean? Like I was really bummed out. Why do you think the majorities of pedos are male? I don't know the answer to that. I think that very often, I mean, some of it's bad wiring. It's people that are born that are just have bad wiring. But I think a lot of it stems from early childhood abuse. And I don't know whether guys get abused more as kids. I don't know the answer to it. I really don't. It may just be two. I mean, honestly, I don't know that sometimes statistics are are really gray. And I'm not saying I think it's a 50-50 split or any such crap, but I do believe that there are a lot more women predators than people give them credit for. And one of the reasons is men are stupid and bold, right? And things that guys will do that draw attention to them, women do not. But I encountered several of them in my life, and you know what? They got away with it, and they got away with it for decades. Like, I'm not even joking. One was a teacher at a school that I went to, and I found out years afterwards, people in subsequent classes after me that went through the same crap. And I had a person that used to watch this channel a lot, and they were very cool because they were from my hometown. We never met because her kids were considerably older than I was, but she watched a lot of lifeboat stuff and was just really, really cool. And one day when I came clean about some of the stuff that happened to me as a kid, she sent me an email with the name of the woman and a question mark. So they're out there. They get away with it. They get away with it. If a 16-year-old kid says, hey, that 35-year-old woman slept with me, people pat him on the back. Atta boy. It's completely different. So I think but it's definitely a much higher number that get busted that are men, for sure. Although the internet shows you that everything. Lost again. Is that what I just did? Is that what I just did? Really? That's what you took away from that? What I said was, I believe that it is far greater than men. I just don't believe the statistics because they don't represent women that don't get caught. We see the school teachers that are, there's a gazillion of them out now, female school teachers that have been caught having sex with boys. We're getting to the point now where the numbers are seeming to get closer. Granted, it's way more men, but if that's what you think I did, I'm a little pissed off if you want to know the truth. I don't think you listened to me. Yeah, in fact, you didn't listen to me. I didn't say anything about men not being the majority of predators. They absolutely are. They absolutely are. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor, reach out and try to save somebody and maybe put a little love in your heart. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sweating like I'm sweating. I'm going to go drink a lot more of this stuff. Look how clear that is. Through the filter out of a brand new carboy and
Delicious.
all right, people. We'll see you on the next one. God bless. I'm Tommy. Have a good